do you think, for a healer, it's more harder to heal themselves than healing others, or is it just the same thing? What would be the differences in that?
You get, first of all, I don't know if you want to say healer. I think it's just the norm. However, when you are taking care, healing, advising others on their life journey, you're getting engrossed and involved in other people and what you can do for them, and not thinking about what you can do for yourself. So for that part, yes, I have not paid much attention to myself, to taking care of myself, but I realize now that I can actually take care of someone else and take care of myself at the same time. And that's what I love about healing and herbs. It's not like oil and flour and sugar and them things. It's herbs. So even when you're handling and you're touching and squeezing and pressing the herbs and collecting the herbs and processing the herbs, you're actually, it's going into your skin through your pores. So you're actually getting healing. And that part of it I like a lot. I love a lot. Now, as it relates to my journey, I think the inspiration, that the part where I woke up and I realized and recognized the actual power of the Most High that was within me was one morning I sat down to the dining room table and I felt a tingling in my right index finger. And I flashed it off. And then about a minute later, I felt a tingling in my right top lip. And then I got scared, and I got up from the table and I went and lied down across the bed, and it got worse. And then I went outside and I went into my vehicle and turned on the AC, and I felt better. Then I came outside the vehicle and started watering the plants, and I didn't realize and recognize that I had a leak in my roof and the AC wasn't working. And when the rain fall, because of the leak, it creates moisture. And South Florida is very, very prone to mold. And I realized later on that I had mold. So what was happening was I was breathing in the spores from the mold, and the mold, you can't see it, but it built up inside of you. And literally, there's mold growing in your body. And on that day, it got worse. I had other episodes where I literally lost my speech. One side of me dropped. Eventually, that was a Monday. Eventually, Tuesday, I went to the hospital. And the medical industry, as far as my experience, they don't know nothing about mold. To my personal experience, my accountability, them don't know nothing about mold. They don't have no idea. While I was being escorted, pushed into the emergency room on a stretcher, I'm telling them I think I have mold in my house, and they just totally dismissed it. Later on, it was a week later, I was still in the hospital, and there was instruments. I was unaware that we had a artery in our groin that led to our brain. So there was an instrument, there was an incision, and it was inserted and pushed all the way to my brain. And they said I had an aneurysm. It was over there. It was over there. Eventually, they said it was behind my left eye. I honestly thought that an aneurysm was when you bleed out. However, according to them, like, this is the artery, that little pip, I call it a pip, that's an aneurysm. What happens is when the blood flow is restricted, there is coagulation, there is calcium buildup in the arteries. It gets bigger and bigger, and then it bursts. So they said, according to these folks in the hospital, they said I had an aneurysm. So moving forward, fast forward from there, a week later, I was out of the hospital with medication and a whole lot of tests, and didn't look the way I look now. There's been some transformation and some changes, and that was my wake up call. It was a frightening experience, and it was very, 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 very scary. There was I would say, the rebirth of my spirituality that dwells within me. It is definitely, I have to say, it is not physical. It's a part of it, but the actual module is spiritual, mental, physical, and financial. And they're, they're, they're related, and one governs the other, but in that order, spirituality comes first. And there was the awakening, because you get that awakening within your soul and within yourself. That's the spiritual part of it. It's not just packaging some herbs and take this because you want a detox or whatever. It is a spiritual awakening that drives you, to the results that actually heal. So where that come from, it don't come from a book. It's a spiritual vibes. And so therefore that's where my whole journey began. I never saw myself as a healer. I saw myself as being spiritually aware, that vibration, that consciousness, and then sharing with others. That's how I saw. That was my experience. That's how I saw that journey.
So let me ask you this. What would you recommend for those who have mole, or dealing with some kind of mole issues in their home, or maybe even suspect and don't know? What would be your advice on how to approach the situation?
First of all, run, run. And I must say, at least 5 ones since I've had the experience, just in conversation with different individuals and hearing them talk, because I've had the real experience. Hearing them talk, I would say, do you have mold? Yes. Run. Because what the mold does, you breathe it in, you can't see it, and it actually festers within your system, and it shuts your organs down. For me, my liver was shutting down, my kidneys were shutting down. So much things was going on because there's an invader, there's a monster growing inside of you, and can it can cut off the living part of you. It shuts you down. So I would say, first of all, what I noticed with mole, it has a scent. And usually when your AC is not working well, or you shut the AC off very often, and you have a leak, if you're living in an apartment, it could definitely be from somewhere else, whether upstairs, downstairs. But there's always the situation where things don't dry out and it festers into mold. And mold is dangerous. And Florida is very, very prone to mold. Around the kitchen sink, around the pipe, you might see a little black thing, and you feel, oh, I didn't wipe it up, and you wipe it off with some bleach. It comes from somewhere. Usually the clothes in the closet kind of feel a little moist, and if you draw away everything, you will see the walls have mold. Mold is very, very common in South Florida. So I would say the first thing that anyone has to do is to remove themselves from the space immediately. Recently, there's a young lady, I was talking to her, and she was always coughing and ended up in the hospital. I was on the phone with her, and there was a cough. And I said, is that you coughing? And she said, no, her daughter just came from the hospital, and our son not feeling so well. She was living in an apartment in Fort Lauderdale, and she had mold in the home. She's now out of the house, but she had mold. Mold is something we have to always dry out. Rainfall, the moisture has to go. If it stays, it grows into bacteria. So those are the symptoms, some of the symptoms. You have mites. There was another gentleman, he had a record collection and he was always sick. So we're having a consultation thinking that is something else. That's why I love to have consultations with ones, because I get to find out what's going on. And I realized that he had mold when he told me about the record collection. He eventually took the record collection out of the house, put it in storage, and he had to move out the apartment. So you can't tell me nothing about mold.
What would you recommend as something that, herbally, holistically, people can do?
Okay, so it also depends now. It depends on what part of the body the mold has affected. One might say a full body detox. Me personally, because the human body has 12 different systems, the endocrine system, the lymphatic system, it has 12 different systems. I, the body is so amazing. I would, it depends on how they're affected, because it can affect somebody's liver, them kidney. But a general way of cleaning is the lymphatic system. Now, the lymphatic system is like a wiring system that goes from above your eyes here in the middle of your forehead all the way down through your entire body. They're like little arteries. And the lymphatic system is a septic tank of the human body. Amazingly, I was going to say the septic tank. The lymphatic system drains, deposits, cleans into the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands empties, deposits into the kidney, and then you pee it out. It's not a diarrhea thing. In the lymphatic system, we have what we call lymph nodes. So lymph nodes, it is called throat cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer. It is a vital part of the human body. This body is amazing. There's so much to us. It's just amazing. And we were not taught in school or any other institution. We never learned about the body. We never learned about its structure. And so the lymphatic system is one way to clean. And we're talking about charcoal, organic activated charcoal. Charcoal is and bentonite clay. These products of the earth have a way when they enter into your system, they latch on and they bind to the bacteria and the mold, and then you pass it out. So you have ways where you, whether it's the intestines, the small and large intestines, it starts when you put the product in your mouth, all the way when the herbs hit your tongue and your throat. It goes all the way down. It kind of collects the garbage and binds, and then you pass it out. So there's charcoal, there's dandelion, there's a bunch of different herbs, clays, herbs. Now, I would strongly suggest in a situation like that, or just generally in a regular situation, you have what's called the fruit. I don't like the word diet. I like the word just, that's how we live. Diet to me, we just need to reset. And we're talking about berries, melons, and grapes. That is in terms of the food intake. Also with the herbs, it's berries alone, melons alone, grapes alone, or leave them alone. So blackberry, blueberry, strawberry, raspberry, juniper berry, hawthorn berries, those are berries that you can consume in in one day, in the same day. Don't mix them with anything else. So you know the dark fruits and the dark berries, they're antimicrobial, they're antioxidant. So they're almost like an antibiotic. They go in and they collect and clean out the system. Then there is the melons. Of course, everything has to have seeds. The melons are cantaloupe, honeydew, watermelon, and cucumber is a melon. Grapes, dark grapes with seeds, but you do them at different times. So if you do it, if you consume the berries today, consume the melons tomorrow. Don't mix them. It is amazing. It changes your skin, your stool, your urine. It gives you more energy. Is just amazing. So basically, I would strongly say a plant based approach to healing. When I introduce or share a healing protocol with anyone, I don't know anything about white flour, white sugar, meat, and all that stuff. It has to come from the earth. It's earth sourced.